Hope you're doing well today. Appreciate you joining me. It is June 18th. Our reading today comes from Second Kings. We're in Second Kings. We're going to be looking in chapters 11 and 12. And I would encourage you, we're primarily going to be looking in chapter 12, but I would encourage you to read chapter 11 as you have how Joash comes to the throne. And it's an interesting chapter. Jehoash was 7 years old when he becomes king. Chapter 12 now. Seventh year he becomes king. He reigns 40 years. His mother's name, Joash, did what was right in the sight of the Lord all the days which Jehoiada the priest instructed him. Probably a lesson there. But the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed. They were still intent on doing that. Okay, verse 4 says, Jehoash said to the priests, all the money of the dedicated gifts that are brought into the house of the Lord, each man's census money, each man's assessment money, and all the money that a man purposes in his heart to bring into the house of the Lord, let the priests take it for themselves, each from his constituency, and let them repair the damages of the temple wherever any dilapidation is found. Now it was so by the 23rd year of King Jehoash that the priests had not repaired the damages of the temple. So King Jehoash called Jehoiada the priest and the other priests and said to them, why have you not repaired the damages of the temple? Now therefore do not take more money from your constituency, but deliver it for repairing the damages of the temple. And the priests agreed that they would neither receive more money from the people nor repair the damage of the temple. Jehoiada the priest took a chest, bored a hole in its lid, and set it beside the altar on the right side as one comes into the house of the Lord. And the priests who kept the door put there all the money brought into the house of the Lord. So it was, whenever they saw that there was much money in the chest, that the king's scribe and the high priest came up and put it in bags, counted the money that was found in the house of the Lord. Then they gave the money, which had been a portion, into the hands of those who did the work, who had the oversight of the house of the Lord, and they paid it to the carpenters and the builders who worked on the house of the Lord, to the masons, stone cutters for buying timber, hewn stone to repair the damage of the house of the Lord. For all that was paid out to repair the temple. They gave it to the workmen. By notice verse 13, however, they were not made for the house of the Lord basins of silver, trimmers, sprinkling bowls, all of those things. But anyway, they were doing what they could, it looks like. It's sort of an odd passage, honestly. But you can tell he comes to the throne and he says, right, collect the money. Let me move it down a little bit. He says, all the money of the dedicated gifts, right? Each man's census money. Let the priests take it themselves, each from his constituency. But you can tell after so much time, by the 23rd year, and it's like this was going to repair the temple for any damage that had been done, and there was damage that had been done. And enough time had passed, and you can tell the king's like, what's the problem, guys? What's the problem? And sometimes in the Lord's kingdom, things need done, and you come 6 months later, and it's like, it's still not done. You come a year later, and it's still not done. You look 2 years later, and it's still not done. And you look 5 years later, and it's still not done. And the king calls the priests and is like, it's still not done. And I don't know what the problem was. It doesn't really say what the problem was, but it was not done. I don't know if it was a lack of funding, that people just weren't interested in it, or I don't know what the reason was. And sometimes things just move slow, and you can tell from this king's from what has been said in the passage, things are moving slowly, if not at all. And so it gets to the point where he says, okay, need to change the plan, need to call an audible, we're going to do it a different way. And so now, to look back at it, I'll move down a little bit. So now they're going to, verse 9, they take a chest, bored a hole in it, set it beside the altar on the right side as one comes into the house of the Lord. And it's like it's right here now. We're going to make this a public works thing, and it's going to be public. And we're going to put it right next to Did you notice that? They put a hole in its lid and they set it right beside the altar, on the right side, right as one comes into the house of the Lord. And anytime you come to the altar, there it is. I don't know what you would say about that. I don't know if you'd call that a, would you call that a guilt trip? I don't know. But it's a public thing. It's like this is work that needs to be done. And this is work that the people need to be supporting. So how they were doing it before wasn't working. So now they get a chest, they put a hole in it. It's like, okay, there it is. And the work is going to get done. But they also, did you notice in it, and it's that odd passage, because the priests agreed there in verse 7 when the king says, don't take more money from your constituency, deliver it for the repairing of the temple. I wanted to see what other versions use for the word constituency. Take no more money from your donors. New American Standard, from your acquaintances. It's going to be a public thing now. All needed to be a part of it. But then, and they agreed, okay, we're not going to receive more money. Right? We're not going to take more money. It's going to be a public thing. And they're going to get it into the hands of the workmen. Okay? Whenever they saw that the chest was filling up, they'd count it, and they gave the money, which had been apportioned, into the hands of those who were doing the work. And that's what you got to do. It's like the priests, maybe the priests weren't able, maybe they didn't know how, but you get it into the hands of the masons, the stone masons, you get into the hands of the carpenters. Get the work done. You get it into the hands of the workers. You get it into the hands of the people who are actually doing the job. That's what you do. And there's, as we think about it, you got to get the right people. Some people just aren't cut out for it. And these priests, they weren't getting the job done. They collected, it wasn't getting done. I don't know, had they collected some money? Whatever. You got to get the right people doing it. You make it a public thing. You get everybody on board with it. And things had moved slowly before, but now hopefully the work will get done. So there's an application. Needless to say, as we think about being in the church today and getting the work done in the Lord's kingdom now. Appreciate you. Hope it's been helpful for you. It's a passage we don't look at too often, perhaps, but hope you have a good day. Hope you join us for our next look into God's Word.